Am I the jerk for pranking the prankster who keeps ding-dong ditching my house? Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. Due to job opportunities, we recently moved into a new neighborhood. While most things were going fairly smoothly, we'd, at around 4 p.m., hear a couple of knocks on our door. When we went to see who it was, to our surprise, there wasn't anybody there. It wasn't until a couple of weeks later that we thought there could be the possibility of someone ding-dong ditching us. We just never thought of it, as it seemed everyone here was really relaxed. So ding-dong ditches never crossed our minds. As not to resort to any extreme measures, we put up a sign near the door, saying to please not trouble the people inside by doing these silly pranks, which didn't work. Since it didn't work, we resorted to asking people about it. But all I got was it was some sort of tradition for the kids in the neighborhood to do this to the people new in the area. This kind of irked me, as ding-dong ditch is really annoying. So I set up a camera inside our house to capture who was outside our door. After reviewing the footage multiple times, I was able to confirm it was some brat who was a couple meters away. I went to speak to his parents, but they laughed it off, saying kids will be kids. So I decided that I myself would do something about it. After 3 days, the kid came back, but I was hiding behind an unlocked door with a large water bucket. As soon as he knocked and turned, I opened the door and splashed him with water. I thought that was it, but the kid's parents came not even 10 minutes later, asking why I soaked their kid in water. I tried to justify my reasoning, but to no avail. I'm conflicted. I feel like I'm the jerk, as I myself used a petty way of getting that kid to stop annoying us. I mean, prank for a prank. The kid's gotta learn one way or another. And it was just water. You didn't dump a bucket of battery acid on him or something. The kid's fine. If they're gonna shake off what their kid's doing to you, they can't really get upset when you clap back. I'm assuming the kid learned his lesson cause there's no update on this story. If that's the case, then I would call that a success. The parents and the kid have gotta learn that when you open that door, don't be surprised if something comes back through it. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below, and if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode, also linked below. And don't forget to subscribe. I accidentally started a local legend in my hometown. This happened 5 years ago. When I was a teenager, my friends and I used to hang out in this one spot in the woods to drink. We live in a small town. There wasn't exactly much else to do. On Halloween night of 2016, we dressed up to take a couple of our younger siblings trick-or-treating, then delivered them home and headed to the woods to drink. I was dressed as a mummy, and my friends were Woody from Toy Story, a witch, Amy Pond from Doctor Who, a pirate, and Batman. Once we'd gotten to our spot in the woods and started drinking, Batman revealed that he'd obtained some puff. None of us apart from Batman and A.B. Pond ever actually partook before, but we decided to give it a go. After a while of drinking and smoking, Woody wandered off to pee, but he quickly came back to us, whisper yelling that there were cops coming. We rushed to put out our fire and grab our stuff, and we scattered and hid, just as we heard voices and saw flashlight beams. I, as a mummy, was wearing entirely white, so I was worried about being visible even in the pitch dark. I basically flattened myself to the ground under the thickest bush I could find, and started painfully slowly unraveling my bandages and stuffing them into my bag. As I was doing this, I was occasionally hearing muffled giggles and rustling from my friends, who definitely enjoyed a little too much of the puff to take this situation seriously. As I started hearing what the cops were saying, I realized they were getting spooked by my friends' noises. Then I heard a thud followed by scuttling, which I later learned was Batman, who had climbed a tree and had fallen out and ran to a new hiding spot. This was followed by, what was that? What was that? Dude, did you see that? That wasn't a person, man. That was a shadow person or something. This apparently caused Batman, who was physically holding his nose and mouth closed to stop himself from giggling, to let out a snort, startling the cops. I took the opportunity to tear off my remaining bandages and sprint away, and my friends followed suit. We eventually met up, and as we were laughing about our escape, Amy Pond was telling us who she thought the cops were based on their voices. Spoiler, they weren't real cops. They were juniors at our school, and going by what I know about them now, they were probably also on something. Batman suddenly went serious and said, "Guys, pull off my backpack there. His backpack of course had his ID in it, along with several empty beer cans and some more puff. The witch, who was the only one of us who could drive at the time, offered to go by in the morning before school and get it. Batman mentioned that she may have to do some searching, because in his panic, he literally flung the backpack away from him, and he wasn't sure which direction it had gone. The witch couldn't find it before school, so later Batman and I went to go search. It was starting to get dark again when we noticed the backpack had managed to get stuck up a tree. I went off to try and find a long stick to poke it down, while Batman decided to attempt to climb the tree, because that had gone so well last time. And then I heard approaching voices. The guys from the night before had brought some friends, and were trying to convince them that there was definitely something creepy out there. There was one voice I recognized, my next-door neighbor, and he was a bit of a jerk. The last thing I wanted was for him to narc on me to my parents that I was hanging out in the woods at night instead of at a friend's house supervised by their parents, especially if they found Batman and decided to check in the bag and saw empty beer cans and puff. So the only solution that I, an idiot, could come up with was to sweep my long hair over my face in some bizarre homage to the Ring, let out the most unholy screech I could muster, and run towards them. This somehow worked. They ran, at least far enough away that Batman and I could get away. Batman had surprisingly actually managed to grab the backpack. A few days later, we started hearing rumors around the school about the woods being haunted. People said that if you went there at night, you could hear the whispering and moving around of people who aren't there, and see shadowy figures moving in the corner of your eye, as well as the screaming ghost of a little girl, which I frankly found offensive. I'm not that short. Apparently they'd found bandages covered in dried blood. They were just dirty. Come on, guys. Later, others started claiming they'd seen shadowy figures in the woods too, and even the screaming ghost. I don't know if their imagination was playing it up, they were lying, or if there were genuinely people taking advantage of the ghost type and going out and pretending to be ghosts. Probably a combination of all three. It's been 5 years and the ghost rumor persists. It's mostly kids from that school who talk about it, but I've heard adults claim they've seen ghosts there too. My friends and I haven't had the heart to admit what actually happened, even though we're all adults now and our parents can't yell at us for hanging out in the woods and drinking and smoking. It's kinda hilarious hearing people talk about the crazy stuff they've seen in the woods, knowing it's all definitely bull. It makes me wonder if this is how most ghost stories get started. A bunch of idiots messing around and spooking some people who are probably tripping, and everyone else just making stuff up, or their overactive imagination showing them what they expect to see. I mean, like our original poster said early on, it's a small town. There's not a whole lot going on. If there's even the smallest hint of ghosts in the woods, that's gonna spread like wildfire. They don't really have much else to talk about, and it's probably the most interesting thing that's happened in a while. I do think our original poster hit the nail on the head though, that this is probably how most ghost stories get started. People hanging out where they shouldn't be and spooking one another, not really realizing that it's just someone else there that was doing the same thing you're doing. Kids messing around and trying to play up some local legend. Even if our original poster and his friends never share that it was actually them, it must be nice to know that that legend started with you guys. My entitled teacher tells me her social life is more important than my dad's incurable cancer. Okay, so this happened earlier today, and I just keep replaying it over and over with all the things I wished I had said to this entitled jerk. For context, I decided to go back to uni to further my skills as a teacher. A big focus of the course is collaborative learning, and so, in my group, we have to do a presentation and activities for other students. This doesn't happen until next week. This one girl in my group has been slowly ostracizing herself with her attitude towards others, and only one person now spends time with her on the course. Think pseudo-liberal jerk who actually has an incredibly expensive and private school education and knows literally nothing about the disenfranchised and struggling people of society, even though she claims she does. She's a hashtag down with sweatshops whilst clinging to her designer handbag type. Anyway, we agreed to meet today to discuss what we're doing. I didn't get the chance to do the core reading to prep for it for reasons which will soon become clear. I just think it's shocking that some people here didn't prepare for this. I want this done by Tuesday at 9 p.m. time. No exceptions. Laziness will not be tolerated. I think it's judgmental of you to assume I didn't do the reading because of laziness. There are no other excuses. You clearly aren't invested. Not that I need to justify myself to you, but for your information, I have a lot of family responsibilities. My dad, who I care for mostly as my mom's trying to keep a roof over their head, has incurable cancer. His immune system took a big hit during treatment, and so when he catches a cold, he's very, very sick. I had to take him to our doctor, who's hours away, to see if it was bad enough for him to be hospitalized. Thankfully, he's at home, but he still needed plenty of care. Doctors gave him 3 to 5 years to live, and we're now at year 3. He was my priority all weekend, and that's why I couldn't prepare for this. I thought that would be fine, as we still have a week to sort this out. While it's not like he's actually dying right now, so you still should have gotten this done. I have a social life I don't want to lose because of someone else not pulling their weight, especially weight as heavy as yours. She said this looking me up and down. I just got up and left. I sent a message telling the group I would still work on the presentation and not let them down, but that I just needed time to cool off. Oh, how I wish I had said something to destroy her or murder her by words. But honestly, I was just too upset and flabbergasted that someone, a teacher, could be so unkind. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes there's exceptions to the situation. Your father, who has incurable cancer, being incredibly sick over the weekend, is one of those. You have other responsibilities. Sometimes there are other things that come first. But because you were an inconvenience to this person directly, they don't give a crap about what's going on in your life. People with that attitude never seem to realize what they're really doing. If you were to flip that around and do the same thing to her, why the heck would you care about her social life? Why should you, when she's had so little consideration for what you have going on outside of school? You can't just have it one way. If you want people to respect your time, then you need to show a little consideration for how they're spending theirs. The comment of "he's not dying right now" shows just how out of touch this person is. Random jerk assumes I'm a street worker because I honestly don't know. It was a Sunday afternoon and I was wearing sweats, hair in a ponytail when I took a break from studying to walk 2 blocks to the grocery store for a snack. Plastic grocery bag in hand, I was waiting to cross the street when I saw a decent-looking guy in his 50s wearing a gray suit approach me. He said hi, and being a polite person, I say hi back as I waited for the cars to go by. "Do you work?" I was momentarily confused by his question. I had a clerkship with an attorney which paid money, so I said, "Well, I have a job." "What are you doing right now? You got some time?" "I'm going home to study for law school, so not really." He stammered, "Oh, damn," and stopped off. What the heck, dude? Just because a lady's on a street corner doesn't mean she's working it on a Sunday at 2 p.m. What the heck? This is a really weird one. Our original poster does not look in any way like they fit that role. The time of day also doesn't really lend itself to that profession. The only thing I could really think of would be if he thought he recognized her as someone that he'd hired before. But he walked up and his first question was, "Do you work?" So clearly he didn't recognize her, right? What was wrong with this dude? He must have been on something. I had to explain to my coworker that she was not in fact victimized by a literal baby. I, 28-year-old female, work with another woman, 33-year-old female, who's extremely pregnant at the moment. She's on maternity leave and is taking time off right now, but she's very dedicated to keeping our office keyed in to every little detail of her pregnancy. She spams her ultrasounds and updates and baby bump pictures to the office group chat constantly. She also has already had the baby shower and is still requesting more stuff for the baby from us. She treats the baby like it's a child, playing Mozart and playing a math podcast that will come out with a higher IQ. That's why I wasn't surprised when she showed up at our office for Bring Your Kids to Work Day to make it about her pregnancy, even though her kid has yet to be born. She started showing all the children her pregnant belly and telling them about it. My other coworker brought her baby too, who's a 1.5-year-old boy. My pregnant coworker approached him and told him there's a baby inside her, pointing at her stomach. She was wearing a dress. The boy misunderstood since he's a literal baby and tried to look up her dress to see it. My coworker was shocked and screamed at him and startled him, causing him to start crying and shrieking and run to his mom. The mom was furious and started yelling at my pregnant coworker that she's a lunatic and saying, why is she even here if her kid isn't born yet? My pregnant coworker started screaming back that this is how predators start out and that she's the victim and the baby needs to be controlled. She turned to me for backup and I told her that she's insane thinking she's been victimized by a literal baby. She yelled at me that it's no excuse and that I'm enabling. Both my coworkers were asked to leave by security. I'm pretty sure her reaction to a baby looking up her dress to find the baby was insane. But maybe I'm losing it. Am I the jerk? No, this woman's crazy, honestly. The kid's 1.5 years old. They have no idea what anything is. He's confused. He's just trying to confirm what you were saying to him. He doesn't know how else to do it. He can't talk yet. And saying that this is how predators start? I don't know. This woman's literally off her rocker. I feel really bad for that kid she's got in her. You know that kid's gonna have it really rough with this woman as a mom. I accidentally got hard on stage in front of 2,000 people. I'm a 17-year-old male. I'm a student at Dance Academy, and today we had our annual dance festival. Last year it couldn't take place because of Corona, so this year our school decided to make something special for the guests. They decided to make a cooperation with the Ballet Academy. They wanted to make a hip-hop ballet cross mix sort of thing where you combine the two elements. I was doing the hip-hop part and a girl from another academy was doing the ballet part. We had a solo together and would often need to practice together apart from the group. Honestly, during practice, I'd sometimes get hard. Pretty sure she noticed. She's very shy and doesn't talk too much, and I probably just made her uncomfortable. I don't know. No, I wasn't aroused in any way. I was nervous. And I don't know. It sometimes happens when I'm nervous. Today was the event. A lot of people came. Even our major did. It was my solo and I went on stage with the girl. We had to wear a satin trouser. It was extremely thin. We were dancing. And I noticed I was getting hard. I could hear a few people giggling. I thought of running off the stage, but this would have made it even worse. After our solo had finished, I quickly left to the locker room because I wanted to leave as fast as possible. My coach came to me. He was a bit mad because they actually wanted to upload this event on YouTube, but since I ruined it, they couldn't. It was really embarrassing. As I was walking out, there were a few girls at the door. I could see how hard they tried not to laugh. Plus, what makes it even worse is that my parents and my grandma were also there. It's gonna be awkward, since I'm gonna see the whole dancing crew on Monday. Yeah. Anyways, the only positive thing is that the girl I was dancing with texted me saying, I think if I was a guy, I'd probably also be getting one from dancing with you. I didn't even know what that means. I guess she was just trying to help me feel a little better. Update. Okay, so I've been chatting with the girl for a little over an hour, and she's been telling me about her most embarrassing screw-ups to make me feel better. That's actually a bit cute, and it warms my cold heart. Update number 2. A lot of you guys said the girl liked me, and I didn't want to miss my chance. I asked her if she'd want to go out or come over to my place and hang out a bit. She said she wants to come over to my place. Hey, I'm glad it worked out for you guys. When you said that she was talking to you and made that comment, that's kinda what I was assuming. But good on you for following up and actually managing to make something good out of this. Unfortunately, we all have embarrassing moments in our lives. This one is gonna stick with you for probably ever. But hey, at least you got a good experience at the other end. And if it really works out, what a funny story to tell your kids about how you met. Seriously though, this is something that happens to some guys. When they're nervous or afraid, sometimes it just happens. That's their reaction. It's not anything creepy or weird and something that they're incredibly embarrassed about, I'm sure. Seems like our original poster managed to take this with as much grace as they possibly could, and doesn't feel that their life has been completely ruined by this event. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.